From the Chicago Sun-Times newsroom, I'm Natasha Korecki, and this is Off Message, our weekly political talk show. Joining us this week is editorial writer Kate Grossman, and we have our wonderful columnists Neil Steinberg and Mark Brown. This week, we are going to talk a little bit about a major coup for the city of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel being able to close the deal and land the George Lucas Museum in Chicago over LA and San Francisco.
This is a milestone for the city.
Mark Brown, were you surprised that Chicago ended up getting this?
I gotta admit, it caught me off guard. I thought, that we were getting used to help leverage San Francisco to put up a better deal. But I'll say I was pleased. I think it's good for the city. I know there's some disagreement as to whether it should be there on the lakefront and whether it even will be a worthwhile museum. I think my colleague here has a point to register on that.
It's a trust drop. We don't know what it's going to be. So this could be a Taj Mahal dedicated to George Lucas for all we know. I mean, it is a tribute to Rahm that he could pry this away. Lucas is a lifetime Californian, and he prides himself on bringing things here, and he obviously brought this here in his inimical fashion. So
how does this translate for Rahm right now? Could this come at a better time for him, really? I mean,
it does come at a really good time. The realization that the election is coming, over the last couple of months have really put him in a negative spotlight. Everyone's just picking on that guy, justifiably, but people are like, do I want another 4 years of Rahm Emanuel? So that's where he's been. And this is the stuff, to his credit, that he's really good at, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he saw an opening and he just, bam,
But that shows his fault too, because like with closing 50 schools, it might be the right thing to do, but there's no build-up, there's no setting the groundwork. He goes into a room with George Lucas, makes a decision, comes back and says, look what I've done, and then people can decide whether they like it or not. I mean, to me, that's one of his biggest flaws is he can't sell his decisions to people.
Right? I agree, but I wouldn't liken it to the closing of 50 schools. I mean, there was an opening. It's not like we've known for years that this was going to flub in San Francisco. There was an opening and he took it. So I agree, that is a weakness of his, that he goes for stuff and then he tries to...
That's like saying the parking meter deal was there. I mean, we have a history of doing things rashly and then repenting in leisure. And I'm just saying, I hope it's the greatest museum in the world. We all love it. But we have no idea what we've just got.
But isn't there a certain aspect of the population that's like wowed by this? Like, okay, he does have some muscle. Hey, he brought, when you want to say he brought us something, you can say he can now say.
Yeah, but Neil, you also have to remember. I mean, what's there right now is a parking lot.
I gotta say, when I saw the picture of it,
come on. It's not, I don't think it's anything like a school closure decision. The fact of the matter is, I drive by there all the time. It is an ugly parking lot. I hate football. I don't care if people are going to lose their tailgating. Right. They're going to add 10 acres of parkland right there. I think is going to be an improvement. And I also think, the Field Museum was started by another rich guy who had a lot of tchotchkes in his basement,
It might be a great improvement, but Rahm spent zero effort talking to Chicagoans about it. That's the connection to the schools.
Zero effort? Do you really think that? I mean, there was a lot of talk about it. I mean, it was...
This is an important win for the mayor. Boy, I don't see it as a real deal breaker in an election, And it also sort of heightens the awareness that it's been a while since he's had something like this.
This isn't an aircraft plant, though. These jobs are selling George Lucas coffee mugs and Jar Jar Binks figurines. Okay, so I'm saying there'll be some good construction jobs. It's not bad for the city.
It's good for the city.
It's good for the city. Okay, great.
I think it's an easy one. It's an easy one. Come on.
You are not allowed to do any kind of George Lucas diaries. Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit to the governor's race. So this week, Bruce Rauner unveils the corporate welfare reforms. Quinn's people come back and say, hey, you're just recycling what we've already said. Is this real tangible stuff? Is he giving us what he should be giving us at this point as a major contender in this race?
There's nothing of substance. I mean, Rauner's just smoke and mirrors, and this is just the illusion of a plan that he's throwing up because people have been demanding one for months. And so he's basically grabbed Quinn's stuff saying, well, you haven't passed it, so it's free game, and now he's saying it's his idea and it means nothing.
I mean, I don't know if it's smoke and mirrors. I mean, he's certainly a flashy guy, and this is not a plan. This is a list of ideas. Many of them have been suggested by Quinn and think tanks, and I mean, they're on shelves all over the place, lots of really good ideas. And the bottom line is, can you deliver them? And in that regard, I do think Rauner might successfully sell himself, because he comes off as, I'm the macho guy and I can I make things happen, and that's going to be his answer. Well, the Democrats, they're a bunch of bungling idiots, and I'm the business guy and I know how to get things done. I think he has failed the public in the sense of, just give out like a PowerPoint with a couple of ideas. I mean, people want a real plan, but I think he does have something to sell when he points to, I'm not like those guys. I'm somebody different and I know how to get things done, and here's all the things in my life I've gotten done.
These demands for a plan for Bruce Rauner, I mean, is it really fair to put this much on Rauner?
Rauner has presented himself as a game changer, as somebody who really is different. We're just still really not seeing anything when he has to put substance to it that shows us how he's going to get to where he tells us he's going to take us, to this nirvana of job creation. There may be other pieces coming, but he better get them out here pretty soon.
He has no ideas. I mean, the idea is the Cliff Notes version of a candidate's plan. He's just a rich guy who can create this facade that he's hoping dupes Illinoisans into voting for.
And also, on your budget point, he is running on, I'm the guy to solve Illinois' fiscal crisis. So maybe other candidates in previous elections haven't put out budgets, but this is what he's offering, and he needs to be specific. And he should have done it when they were passing the state budget, not when it's all over.
Well, with that, let's wrap up with quotes of the week.
So mine is from Luis Gutierrez, congressman, and he used a World Cup reference to declare immigration reform dead. Did this on the House floor. He said, "You're done, leave the field, too many flagrant offenses and unfair attacks, and too little action while you run out the clock."
2 words, sidewalk counseling, which is a phrase that anti-abortion advocates use for hectoring people as they go into clinics. It was brought up in the Supreme Court ruling throwing out the Massachusetts 35-foot bubble zone or safety zone. Basically, it kept protesters away from people trying to exercise their constitutional rights to health care, and now these fanatics can get in the faces of people trying to go into these clinics and abuse them to their heart's content. God bless America.
With sidewalk counseling.
With sidewalk counseling, thank you, yes.
I liked a little quote from the mayor on the George Lucas Museum. Our contribution is 2 parking lots, which I believe one of my colleagues has made that point as well here today.
That's a good one. And I'm going to circle back to the World Cup, to the infamous Luis Suarez biting incident, and when right after the game ended and his coach was asked about it, he said, quote, "This is the World Cup. This is not about cheap morality." Of course, he wasn't the one who was bitten. So with that, thank you very much for joining us this week. Thank you to our panel, and we will see you next week.